There's never a dull moment to be a Sonic fan, am I right? I mean, whether it's the good times or the bad times, there's always something to incite emotion among fans of the Sonic the Hedgehog community. That being said, the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog live-action movie. I know Twitter Moment said that the community was divisive amongst the reaction to the poster, but let's not mince words here. It was way more disdain than praise, and it really made people question just what is going to happen in this movie, myself included. Am I concerned? Are you concerned? So it's more than just about that poster, much more. So we're going to talk about just kind of my thoughts about this upcoming Paramount Pictures production, how the production really came to fruition, maybe some of your own reaction as well, and what does the future look like for it? Will it be way past cool, or will it be a massive failure? I'm G, and this is the Muse. So real quick, let's take a look at how this movie got started. So it all started in 2013 when Sony Pictures Animation acquired the rights to make a Sonic the Hedgehog film. And in 2014, they made the announcement that it's going to be a live-action movie. Now, I know the initial thought of a live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie didn't really incite a whole lot of excitement. It was a lot of controversy, but I personally didn't really think a whole lot bad of it. I mean, there are plenty of examples of good live-action animation hybrids, but we'll get to that a little bit more into my thoughts. But a lot of real quietness happened until about 2017, when it was announced that Paramount Pictures had acquired the rights instead of Sony Pictures. And that's when I started to get a little bit more concerned about it, because Paramount Pictures, you know, they're real kind of hit or miss with their franchises, and then sure enough, then the pictures really started rolling around about what Green Hill was going to look like. We started to get a look at the locales, and then the cast. Now, I will say this, the cast is pretty great. I mean, Ben Schwartz is the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog. He's a great actor. Got James Marsden. He does great work. I mean, take a look at him and Hop. It just makes sense to put him with a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, am I right? The fact that he's a buddy cop is a little weird, but we'll get to that a little bit later. And to top it off, Jim Carrey as Eggman. Now, I don't know about you, but when I first initially heard about that, I got pretty excited, because Jim Carrey is one of my favorite actors. I think the man could almost make anything work. And even with something as strange as him as Dr. Eggman, I think it could make it work. I remember being in Dallas during the Sonic artist meetup and hearing that information, and I was just like, wow, what, Jim Carrey? Oh, okay, this has promise. And I stand by that. I think it has promise. But again, we'll get into the cast a little bit more later. But then a whole lot of more quiet really started to happen after that. So it's like, yeah, it's in production, things are happening. And then the poster dropped. And that's when things started to get a little bit ugly, literally. So before we get into that poster, let's take a look at what my thoughts were leading up to this event. So it being a live action CG hybrid, now I personally think that with the right care and the right team behind it, I think that could be a great decision. I mean, take a look at films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Seth MacFarlane's Ted, that was a great movie, and Space Jam, and I don't care what the haters say, I love Space Jam. It's stupid, but I think it's a great movie. It was fun. I mean, case in point, these movies are really supposed to be fun. But for every great one like that, we get, you know, not so great ones like Looney Tunes Back in Action, the live action Alvin and the Chipmunks trilogy, Garfield, The Tale of Two Kitties. You see where I'm going here. It could have the potential to fail really badly. And for the record, I really like Sony Pictures Animation. Most of everything that they do ranges from great to excellent. I mean, take a look at Surf's Up. I think this is a very underrated film. It's actually one of my favorite animated movies. So I think that they would have done a great job with Sonic, but just the sheer fact that they went to Paramount Pictures really puts a huge red flag on it. I just fear that having that sort of look and feel like many of their other animated efforts that they've done, or even their other adaptations that they've done, such as Transformers, the 2014 Ninja Turtles movies, It's almost as if they're really trying too hard to be hip and realistic with their dark and gritty style of their films. I'm just not a fan. I know some people love it, but I'm just not a fan of that style. And then going into some of the pictures of the locales that we've seen so far of the Green Hill area, and it's like, I get it. They're trying to go for it to be like a quaint, sort of quiet town with a buddy cop sort of aesthetic, but does this really make you think Sonic? No, I don't really think so at all. It just looks drab and kind of boring. But at the same time though, I still had hope looking at those pictures where it's just like, okay, but it's not super like dark and urban, and it's like, it didn't really get me in that sort of sense where I was that much concerned about it. But I was recently informed by a good friend of mine who actually lived in the area where they were filming the live action portions of the movie over in Vancouver, and he said that from what he could tell, he said looked like, and I quote, a Tim Burton-esque monstrosity. Yeah, they're going dark and gritty, aren't they? And we all know what other big video game franchise decided to go dark and gritty. Yeah, that went well, didn't it? No, it didn't. And don't get me wrong, the cast is great. As I've said, the cast is fantastic, but a great cast can only do so much for a bad movie that's actually been directed badly, too. I mean, take a look at Steve Martin in Looney Tunes Back in Action. He couldn't save that. Bill Murray couldn't save Garfield in the Garfield movies. Heck, Jim Carrey himself couldn't even save the live-action Grinch movie. So they can only really go so far if the movie is that bad to begin with, but again, I still have high hopes. I really, really do. And then not only that, the whole buddy cop sort of aesthetic, it probably would be okay if we didn't just see the Detective Pikachu trailer not too long ago, which looks to be in that similar vein, but only much, much, much more appealing to the eye, and we'll get to that a bit later. So yeah, that movie poster. Well, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, here it is. And yeah, it's something. So let's just take a look at all the concerns that I have with this here. So first of all, his head is way, way too big. Now I understand Sonic doesn't exactly have a beady head or all, but his head is still at least proportionate to the rest of his body. It looks like his head is maybe about 2 times as big as it really should be here. And in his eyes, if you take a really close look at the eyes in the silhouette, again, this is a shadow, so we can only really go so far, but it looks like they've decided to go with 2 separate eyes instead of the single one eye white with the black pupils behind it. And I guess when trying to make it a realistic approach, I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, that doesn't make it look any less weird. And I believe I read somewhere that the people who were working on the design for this film were inspired by Ted when they were coming up with the design for Sonic. But the thing is that having those 2 beady eyes worked for Ted because he was a teddy bear. Sonic isn't a teddy bear, he's a hedgehog. And I'm not really sure how that's gonna pan out, but for now, it looks weird. Does he have a snout? Yeah, he has a snout. You mean to tell me that they couldn't put like this little black nose there and it wouldn't look awkward? I don't know, that's weird. It makes him look more like a cat and less like a hedgehog. It's just, again, it's odd. It's a little off-putting. Those shoes, man, those shoes are fugly. They could have at least tried to make it have at least like an angled tip point. There are shoes out there that have angled tip points, you know? They didn't have to make them look like sneakers. It's just very bleh. It's blah. But then we get to my biggest problem with this, and that is the fact that look at his body. Why they felt to actually make him more human-esque and less animal-like is just beyond me. And then not only that, he's swole. I mean, look at him, he is cut. He's got what looks to be like a 6-pack, he's got big muscular legs. It's almost as if like they took Rey Mysterio and they put a Sonic head on him. I don't know, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable looking at it. It's like somebody took like the kind of worst aspects of some of the more seedier sides of the art community, and I don't know, it kind of makes me uncomfortable right now. Again, this is just a silhouette. I understand that things can change, but you gotta understand animation takes a long time. And just the fact that they're already in kind of a post-production stage, it's not really looking good. And I hate to say it, but it's weird. It seems like they're going way too hard into being realistic and gritty. Again, going back to Detective Pikachu. Take a look at the character designs in that. Now, I understand Detective Pikachu had a lot of... Now, that's where the division lies in. There was a lot of hate and there was a lot of praise. I personally am on the side of praise. I think they look excellent. The characters look like the way they look like. They don't detract from the environments, and they all have character and vibrance, you know? I fear that with Sonic, we're not going to get that. And once again, it's like... you're gonna let Nintendo show you up with Detective Pikachu? I mean, no lie, I'm hyped for that movie. This, I'm still very concerned at this. I mean, take a look at some of the fan-made efforts out there. I know that there are some fan-made CG films of Sonic the Hedgehog that look fantastic. Hell, look at the freaking Progressive commercial that came out a couple of years ago with Sonic running around with Flo and her assistants, whatever his name is. That looked great. But that kind of goes into my thought, like I had this discussion with my boss earlier today about why this may not work and why they should have just left it be like how he looks in, say, the Wreck-It Ralph movies. And just have him look like that and maybe add just a little tiny bit of realism to him just to make him look great for the film. It's that suspension of disbelief. It's like, we know what Sonic the Hedgehog looks like. We're not gonna be like, oh, that doesn't make sense. It's like he looks like a cartoon character in this movie. When it was perfectly okay for stuff like Alvin and the Chipmunks and Garfield and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Again, it's that we're familiar with the character and how it looks like, but then you try to make him super realistic and human-like and dark and gritty, and it takes away that suspension of disbelief, and it kills it. And I know some of you are probably thinking that we're all overreacting here, but I think there's a little bit of justification here when you go too far with something. And granted, as someone who's been in the Sonic community for a very long time and seeing when things get taken too far, I feel that this is going way too far. But now this is going to be on a global scale, especially with Sega disapproving of the design too. This doesn't look good. Not at all. And so, I thought that we were out of the woods with this. Now, before I made this video, I kept flip-flopping back and forth, like after that initial poster drop, it's like, you know what, should I make this video, should I not make this video? Does it really bother me that much? And sure enough, I was about ready to just let it go. I'm like, you know what, that's okay, I'm just gonna let it pass, but then another poster dropped, and this was leaked from a movie theater in California. People were like, oh, is this real, is it not real? But it was confirmed, it's real, and this isn't much better. Granted, the backdrop is kind of cool, but at the same time, doesn't it take away from the fact that it's supposed to be a small town in Green Hill? Like, what's he doing on a big populated bridge like that? But then it's like you get a closer look at his legs. Who sits like that? I mean, seriously, for one thing. And then we all know Sonic doesn't wear pants, but again, it's like, who thought that from the camera position and just... it looks like it's coming from his crotch. I don't understand who thought this would be a good idea. Just it boggles my mind. But my thing is that I still have hopes for this movie. I'm not gonna be like a good majority of the people on the internet is just like, oh, this might be just a huge disaster, I'm just completely shutting things off from it already. And to be honest, it's Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm pretty much going to pay attention. Whether or not my outlook on this might change, time will tell. There's still a whole nother year before this movie comes out, so things could change, but as of right now, my personal opinion on it is I don't like it. I'm not super comfortable with it, but we'll see where they go with this. They have time to turn this around, and we'll see what Paramount does. So naturally, once I saw the posters, I had to talk about it on social media. So I talked about it on Twitter and Facebook, and I thought before I go today, I'd share some of my favorite responses that some of you actually told me about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie posters. So here we go. Start off with, @TheRebelTom told me, I am kind of terrified by that image. That thing can stay in the shadows. Creepy AF. Yeah, can't disagree with that. Michael Kelly says on Facebook, reminds me of Gogo Hypergrind. Now, for those of you that don't know what Gogo Hypergrind is, it was an extreme sports kind of Tony Hawkish game for the GameCube that came out with character designs by Spumco, which are the team behind Ren and Stimpy. Do we really want a Ren and Stimpy kind of look and feel for a Sonic movie? I know I don't. No offense to Ren and Stimpy, but I just don't think that would work either. But that was a good game though, so I thought that was actually kind of cool that somebody would mention that. But for Sonic, nah. My buddy Zero Reynolds says, the design of Sonic for the 2019 movie looks like a design for Sonic that physically lived through the experience of 2018. Ouch. My buddy Adventure Blur @ADVBlurGamer says, I'm very mixed on it. It's definitely not what I was hoping, but at the same time we've only seen the poster. He'll probably look better in the movie. Either way, they still have more than enough time to turn this around. They've only been in post-production for about a month. And I appreciate that optimism, Adventure Blur, but the thing is that if they're in post-production and they have a release date scheduled for November, I don't know if that's enough time to really turn this around. As I said before, animation takes a long time to render and get everything done, so just the sheer fact that they've already kind of released this, I'm going to remain positive about it too, but we'll see how it all goes. @Whovalicious84 says, well, he's swole because everyone in Hollywood still thinks that every anthropomorphic character should look like they're on the roids. It started with TMNT in the 80s and never stopped. Sold toys though. Hopefully this movie doesn't get toys. Oh god, that image is stuck in my head. And thanks a lot, now it's stuck in my head too. Oh lord, what if they do make toys for this? Oh, remember the 2014 Ninja Turtles toys? Oh, that's a scary thought. My friend Emma, which I talked about in my last video, @DragonRider4923 says, this is even worse. This is in reaction to the second poster, by the way. I first thought it was a bad mock-up. I was wrong. They made it worse. Yeah, they certainly did double down, didn't they? My buddy Pip Pinson says, Swole Nick the Hedgehog needs to chill the F out. If he's all ripped too, I propose we call it Twilight Mobius. I kid, but I worry. Gross. My buddy Falcro says, yeah, I see what you mean looking swole. It looked like a werewolf of a moment with that pose, I'm not gonna lie. And I said, unless he turns into the werehog in this film. Literally, that is one of the only things that can really save this movie beyond Jim Carrey being Eggman. what if maybe the whole looking realistic style, maybe he does turn into the werehog in this movie? I know it's a long shot, but I'm not gonna lie, I'd get excited for that, because it's what I feel is the few supporters of the werehog in Sonic Unleashed. Just any sort of positive representation of him, I would love that. It's probably not gonna happen, but that would be awesome if it did. My friend Candace says, I think at the very worst we get a campy and semi-uncanny valley breaking Sonic. At the best we get a Sonic movie with Jim Carrey as Eggman, and that makes me want to run through the streets screaming. I hope it's good. Even if it's bad, I think it'll be fun bad. We can only hope that it'll be fun bad. Well, I'd rather it be good, but hopefully it'll be fun bad. But we'll see. I mean, it's kind of like the Super Mario Brothers movie. And I hated it back in the day. I thought it was awful and it was a piece of bile. Looking at it now, it's still a piece of bile. But at least I kind of have fun chuckling at it now. But I do definitely appreciate that outlook now. Who knows? It could wind up being great. And real quick, I wanted to mention 3 Twitter posts that I think were excellent regarding the Sonic movie that weren't replies to me, but I think were really worth mentioning. At RGX Supersonic says, what sucks about the Sonic film is, if we buy tickets, we allow Paramount and Hollywood to continue making trash like this. But if we don't support it, it hurts the brand and movie studios will think the franchise is unprofitable for another film attempt. It's a lose-lose situation. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's like either we vote with our wallets and don't see it, and then the big wigs in Hollywood basically say, oh, well, I guess they have no desire to see a Sonic movie, guess we don't need to try again. But maybe if we actually do go to see it, like say if we go to see it opening weekend, and then if it turns out to be awful, we don't go see it again, but they do enough to break even to where they might actually have an interest in making a second movie, then maybe they might actually do it right. Maybe they might actually make it full CG, who knows? But it's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, you know what I mean? At Mighty Sen, who I met at Sonic and Sega Fan Jam, and she's awesome. You can still be a fan of something and criticize it. That doesn't make you any less of a fan. In fact, I'd say pointing out flaws shows you care about what you're criticizing. Yeah, for those of y'all that are saying, oh, the Sonic community is overreacting to this, keep in mind we've been waiting for this for a very, very long time. And they really only have one shot to make this work. So when we see something like this, of course we're going to react to it. Is it wrong to basically speak out our feelings? Granted, some people have gone a little too far with it and being overtly angry, but at the same time, I think we need to make our voices heard. Why not? And Mighty Said also said, guys, I just had a horrifying realization. What if they made a video game based off the Sonic movie? What, like Street Fighter the movie, the game? And probably my favorite reaction out of the poster comes from another friend of mine that I met at the Sonic Artist Meetup earlier this year, Lightning Walker at That Blue Bolt. He says, to everyone saying we just love hating on Sonic, some of us actually are unhappy with the design. It shows once again fans understand the character better than its own company. We got 2 official Sonic games in 2017. The good one was made by fans. Actually, I like Sonic Forces, but that's another story. We have a right to be mad. We shouldn't just eat up whatever Sega serves us, because that logic is just another form of shut up and eat it, at least you're getting something to eat when we pay support this company and it lets us down. Damn straight we're gonna if it serves us something bad. I really couldn't have said that better myself. I mean, I think we have a right to really voice our opinions and let our opinions be heard about it. One last thing, Naoto Oishima, one of the grandfathers behind Sonic the Hedgehog. I know he's going through a real tough time right now with all the fan outrage about all of this, and he left this drawing basically talking about saying, hey, I still appreciate you even though what's going on right now, I still appreciate all of the fans. I reached out to him today and I said, thank you Oishima, I know this has to be hard for you, but we won't be leaving Sonic over what they're doing to him. We love and appreciate what you do. Through the highs and the lows, I will always be a Sonic fan. He actually tweeted back to me and he said, you are the best Sonic fan, thank you very much. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and what my thoughts are on it so far. And I mean, my brain hurts, but who knows? The movie's still a whole year away. But just the sheer fact that I'm really liking how the community is really banding together to really tell what our thoughts are about how this movie is going so far. Don't be afraid to speak your mind about it, people. If you're not really feeling how this is, let them know what's wrong with it. Make a blog post, tweet, post on Facebook, share on Instagram, make a video like I'm making today. Tell them how you are feeling, because maybe we might be able to make a difference. Or maybe their mind's already made up and this is how things are gonna go. Only time will really tell, but as far as my personal thoughts are on it so far, I'm gonna let the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog Sonic say it best.
That's no good.
Exactly. And what are your thoughts about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie so far? What were your reactions to those two posters? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, peeps, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know. Thank you for watching. And as always, keep on gaming and keep being awesome. I'm G, and I'll see you on the next level.